All right, well, now that we know how to log into Hub and from there get into EnerGov, we're going to cover just some general navigation topics, a little bit on how to search and how to access some reports. So, like I said, from any of these cards, I can get into EnerGov. I'm just going to click a permit and it'll launch EnerGov like we see here. Now, before I start, I wanted to let you know we're going to be placing these videos as well as some of the videos we ran in the past on some training. Matter of fact, we have a similar training in HTML introduction that we did about a year ago. It's in here, and many of you did attend. We had 3 different sessions, probably 100 plus people attended. We're going to cover some of the same topics, but it still might be good to go back and revisit this. I'll provide the link to this location in this video and later on too. So from within EnerGov here, if you remember the old Silverlight screens, if I can show you here, we'd start off with a blank screen like this, and we'd have some options down the left, we'd have a couple options along the top. We could also click on the EnerGov E to click through various ways of accessing screens. We even had the ability to type in something at the bottom to track down the screens that we wanted to get to. Rather than have everything all spread out all over the place in the HTML version of EnerGov, it's all combined into what we call the omnibar up here. Every function in EnerGov can be accessed through up here. So for instance, I could type in the word permit. And you can see just by typing it in, I didn't hit enter. That might be a good thing to bring up to you. P-E-R-M-I-T. I'm not hitting enter. It predicts what you want to see here. So I can see if I want to add a permit, I got it here. If I want to manage permits, I can do all that there. Same thing for, let's say, code cases. I can go there. Maybe inspections. I can have all those functions there. So it has all those lists that we saw in the original EnerGov Silverlight, but it also has a lot more functionality. For instance, we couldn't do this in Silverlight. If we wanted to start just looking for a specific case, like DSFR, and you can see every time I type, it starts to predict and match what I'm typing in. So we like to kind of emphasize before you hit enter, just start typing stuff in, and almost always you'll see the permit that you're looking for or whatever it is you're looking for in the list here. And here I can see open up the permit. It's not limited to just permits though. If I wanted to look up a contact, let's see, Forrest Gump, I can type in the name of a contact and I see these people here. Maybe I could type in some sample gum. So it can pull up a contact directly from this list. Basically, any data that is in EnerGov can be accessed through this omnibar up here. So clearly, if you have an idea of an exact idea of what you're looking for, could even be an address. So I type in the address and it pulls up the address along with a possible permit match for you here, or you can just look up the address itself. Really, if you have a good idea of what you're looking for, this is the rapid access way to get to it. But there are plenty of other ways to do searches. Let's say a customer came in and they wanted to look up all the permits, for instance, on a specific address. Well, if you remember this Rubik's Cube, in the 2020 version that we've been on for a while, this was roughly 50% functional, we'd say. The home didn't work, a lot of these didn't work, but Parcel Manager is probably the easiest, fastest way to pull up cases that might be attached to a certain address. So when I click it, you can see if I happen to know the parcel, I could type it in here. But chances are most of us don't. We just know the address. So I'm going to type in that one, 714. Maybe I'm not quite sure how to spell Heatherside, so I can type in a partial match and hit enter. And it'll match what I've typed in there. click that, and we'll see a map view of the location we're talking about, so we can kind of verify, does that look like what we're looking at? Sounds great. We don't have any recent cases, not a problem. But one of the big benefits is we can go to linked records. And in here, we can see all the inspections on the location, permits, plans, projects. If there was a code case or two, we'd see them in here. This is a big improvement over the Silverlight version, where we would have to search through either the code cases to find the code cases, then we'd have to check the permit cases to find them there, then we'd have to check the plan. All those were separated, while here we can see everything attached to one location. So the quick way that I got to this was just click the Rubik's Cube up here and Parcel Manager. Now that's probably sufficient for a lot of the requests we get, but certainly I've seen a lot of the PRA, the public request, the public information requests, and certain managers and staff, you often have pretty detailed searches that you need to do. So we have a way of getting to those. So if I click on the Rubik's Cube again and go to Advanced Search. Now this is similar to when we were in the Silverlight version and we would go to Permit Viewer, and then Permit Search. What the Silverlight version would do for us, it had some benefits and it had some drawbacks. They put together probably the more common fields that people searched by on here, including address, maybe contact name, stuff like that. They put the common fields in there, but certainly they couldn't predict what Pasadena would need versus what Glendale needs, or what Dallas, Texas needs, or any of the hundreds of other jurisdictions. So they just had to make it a very general search function. In the HTML version, we can make it a lot more customizable, a lot more detailed, but it does take maybe a couple extra steps, at least initially. So for instance, let's say we want to look for all the solar permits issued in a certain date range. Well, I'll cover how these saved searches work here in a second, but let's start one from scratch. We're going to start a search by clicking the plus button down here. We're going to click New Search, and it's asking us, okay, what do we want to look for? Now here we do have to choose, are we looking in the permit module or the plan module? So in this case we're looking for solar permits, so we're going to click there. Now what we don't see here is that big list of common fields that we were seeing in Silverlight. However, they're all still there. The system basically has us design our own search, and it'll let us save it so we don't have to do this again. So the first thing it's asking us in choose area is, what do we want to use to find these permits? So one of the things was we're looking for solar permits. So I know solar permits are kind of a work class, so I'll type in, and let's see. So I find permit work class. Select that and just click anywhere else outside here to close that box. So it's asking me permit work class contains, then it provides a list. Here are all the work classes that we have for all the different permits. We have a lot, so it might be easier just to type in solar. Type in solar, there we go. So right now I have the system looking for any permits with the sub work class of solar. But we want to narrow it down by perhaps issue date. So I'm going to type in the word issue. I see permit issue date here. Add that, click outside of the box somewhere down here, and it'll say choose a date range. So between this date or that date, you can choose it to be greater than, which is what I'll do here. I'll say any solar permits issued past 1/1/2022. Save. So now we're going to pull up any permits that are issued past 1/2022. Now let's add one more criteria. Let's say we don't want to see any of the voided permits. Obviously a lot were created on accident. For whatever reason they were voided. So I want to check the status of the permit. Hit enter and I find permit status. Let's click out here. Now this is something that we could not do in Silverlight. We had a choice. If you remember Silverlight, if I look at the screen here, I could look at the status. However, I could only choose one at a time. And if I wanted to exclude a certain type, we simply couldn't do it. It wasn't an option. Here we can choose multiple statuses. We can say I want to find only those that are approved, issued, whatever it is, or we can say I want to look for those that do not have this status. So in this case, I don't care about canceled or voided. All right, so here's our criteria. Permit is PV solar. Issue date is after January 1st, 2022, and the status is not canceled or void. I've got the first step down. Now, if I move on to select the output fields, this is going to be what when the system finds certain records, what do we want to see about it? Now, this is a lot more functionality than the Silverlight version had before too. For instance, maybe I don't want to see square footage. That's not important to me. Valuation usually isn't very important. Permit district, probably not all that critical. Yeah, might want to see if the balance is due. That might be interesting. Maybe we want to see the contact information added to this. So let me go up here and look for the word contact. All right, so I want to include the contact first name, last name, company name, if any, and the contact email. Click on here, and now we can see they all got added to the bottom here. While these are listed here, we could also rearrange it. Maybe we want to put the permit number, then the permit type, permit work class right next to it, permit status, and then we'll see the address, issue date, maybe application date before issue date. Now, as I'm rearranging these, we'll certainly have the ability to go back and change them up again if that's not what we want to see. Another helpful tip sometimes is take that permit description and put it to the bottom, because sometimes if you have a really long description, you don't want it taking up a lot of real estate right in the middle of your results. So with this information, let's see what we get. All right, so we get a list of 152 permits that were issued since January 1st, not voided or canceled, and are PV solar permits. Kind of like a lot of Microsoft applications, you can click on any one of these to sort them. Like if you want to sort by building residential or permit number, you can get an idea that way. Application date's pretty common way to sort. You might want to see the latest first or the first last. And then as we go across, we can see the other information we included. Here's the final date, expiration date. Now here's that permit balance due if there is any. You can see if there's a total somewhere out there, there's $110 still due. Here's that description. I didn't push it to the end, I should have. And here's the contact information that we included also. So we have all that information here. And yes, you can squeeze these, make it more visible if you'd like here. But you can, if this is a type of search that you think you'll be doing, one of the great things about this functionality is you can save it. I can save this search. So if I click the button there, I can call this a solar permits by issued date not voided. Giving it a title, you can further describe it down here if you'd like. Now, this button here, if I decide I want to share the search, that means as soon as I click save, this search will not only go into my saved searches, but anybody else will be able to access it. So let's take a look here. I'm going to click save. All right. So you can see this search is now in my search pre-saved. It's also in all saved searches. So if you were to log in after this and go to the advanced search section, you would see this search in there, and you could run it. To run it, you would simply click this squareo. It'll open it up, and it runs it with the criteria that I put in there last. So remember the date range, the statuses. Now you can go back and change it. Maybe the date range has changed. So I click that pencil button, and now the date range is anything after we'll say March. Click save, next, finished. So I've now got that in there. And if I click save on this, well, the advanced search has now, for everybody else, it has changed. So that's one thing we have to keep in mind. If we save it out to the general user base, if somebody else goes in there and modifies it, well, it's going to modify it for everybody. So that's something to pay attention to. So in some cases, if you think your search is going to be useful to other staff, feel free to save it to, save it to searches that anybody can see. Otherwise, just save it to your own self, and you can see all these. So you can see I've already got all these searches just kind of saved to myself. Now when we go live, we're going to have some quick pre-made searches for you, some of the really easy stuff. So what we'll have is these things called templates. So for instance, I just set up a quick address search for permits, plans, and code cases. Now I could go into here, open it up, and all it is looking for an address that matches, and then you type in the name. You can change the criteria if you'd like and click finish. And if you click save, then you've saved that. So what we've done, you can see it saved it to my searches. It's not in everybody's search. Oh, I did save it to everybody's. But what I did is I started with a template, and from that template I could create my own customized search and take it from there. So to make it short, this advanced search is a lot more powerful than the old Silverlight version here. However, it does take a couple extra steps to set it up the way you'd like. And oh, I should mention that while just like the Silverlight version, let me just run another search here. I've got this here. I can always take these results. I could click into an individual permit if I'd like. You can see all these tabs opening up here, or I can export it to a CSV file, which is opened by Excel. So this functionality was in Silverlight also. However, the ability to customize a search and really tweak it to certain things you're looking for is far stronger than it was in Silverlight. It can even go back and, let's say I want to modify this one. You can look for, if there's a field that is in EnerGov that you're looking for, you can track it down. Let's say there's a C of, oh, I think that's what we call certificate. So it went through all of the permit cases out there, looked for any fields that have C of O in it, and it found all of these. So maybe I want to add this C of O issue date to the criteria, and it'll say, okay, do you want it to be between these dates or greater than a certain date? You can see it's not just limited to the basic front information on a case. It really can track down any field on any case in EnerGov. So that's one of the great functions about this advanced search. Now there are still, I'm sure, even more specific requests for information that sometimes an advanced search can't handle. So like in EnerGov, we do still have our sets of reports that we can go to. First off, you can access them from the hub page here. I think we have them set up. So if you go to Global, Manage, and Manage Advanced Search, Manage Global Apps, I'm sorry. System-wide reports. That's what we're looking for. It should also be down here in the favorite apps. So if I just click Reports, System-wide reports, it'll launch the report window. And here it's going to ask us what module are we going to be looking for. So in this case, I'll look for permit reports. Click Select. And just like we would see in the Silverlight version, they all appear over here. I will say there is one slightly annoying, wouldn't quite call it a bug, but it's annoying. They don't give us the ability, not yet, to expand this. So one of the tricks I found is you can hold Control down and shrink it if you want to get the full name of the report here. That's something that is on their list to improve. But just like in Silverlight, when we would go to click on the E, permit reports viewer. Here's the list that we see in Silverlight. Here's the list in HTML, and they should be the same reports. The same reports got copied over with our thing. So if I just want to look at permit listing, oh, that is something interesting. E-review. So you can see all the reports that were in Silverlight are going to be in HTML here. Just a slightly different way of getting to it. And if you just want to go straight to the omnibar, system wide, you can just type that in. That'll take you back to this page here. So that's a quick rundown on some navigation, a quick way to do some permit searches and how to access reports. We're going to dive a little bit more in following videos on navigating through cases themselves, maybe some workflows and fees and other items like that. So we'll see you in a little bit.